I was abandoned at birth, left in the hospital. I went through a succession of foster homes, orphanages, detention centers, reform schools.
Jerry Bellone moved so often that he never made any friends.
Animals were my only friends. I had no human friends. When I would run away from home, I would usually go sleep in junkyards and crawl in dog houses and sleep with dogs at night to stay warm.
Early on, Jerry gained a reputation as a troublemaker. His rebellion was met with a brutal reality.
If you did something wrong, people would always beat you. When I was in foster homes, I would be beaten. When I was in the orphanages, I wouldn't cry or I wouldn't show any fear. I reached a point where I said, I will never let anybody beat me again.
Jerry's distrust in authority spilled over to his view of God.
Whenever they would mention the word God, I said, I hate God also. If someone mentioned God, I figured that they were hypocrites. I figured that they were soft. I figured that they had an angle.
Once Jerry was a teenager, the crooks and criminals became his role models.
I never felt sorry for any of the people I victimized, because I went through life feeling that because when I was younger I was victimized, that I had a right to victimize others.
In 1973, Jerry and an accomplice broke into a house to steal a valuable stamp and coin collection. The two were surprised to find the owners at home. They stole the collection and murdered the couple on their way out. Before they fled, they shot and killed a neighbor that witnessed the whole event. After police connected him to the crime, Jerry was tried and sentenced 50 years to life in prison.
I wasn't even caring. I literally didn't care. So I got involved in the criminal element in prison, gambling, loan sharking, drug trafficking, and I would always let people know that I'm in here for killing 3 people, and I wouldn't have a problem getting a 4th or a 5th or a 100th.
So in 1988, Jerry was transferred with 63 other prisoners to a lockdown unit for problem inmates.
And they said if we had any hopes of ever getting out of that unit, we would have to start taking therapeutic and educational program.
Jerry enrolled in classes with the goal of manipulating the system, but in that process came a surprise.
I went to prison with a 5th grade education. So for me to obtain my GED and find out that I was getting great marks, for the first time in my life, college opened up doors for me. Once I embarked on a journey of education, I never looked back. My associates, my bachelor's, 2 masters.
Due to a change in laws, Jerry's sentence was knocked down by 25 years. With his new educational resume, Jerry thought he had a chance of parole. On 6 occasions, he went before a parole board pleading for his freedom, but without success.
I was so frustrated, so angry, that I had done everything that had been required of me, 50 times more than required of me.
Jerry was disappointed, but found hope in a letter from his pen pals, some Dominican nuns. Even though Jerry was agnostic, these nuns became his good friends over the years through their letters.
And the first thing I wanted to do when I didn't make the board is blame God. But the nuns said, well, maybe you need to ask God. And that was the turning point. And they said, Jerry, it's time to try something new.
For the first time, Jerry surrendered his life to Christ and learned about the freedom that comes with forgiveness.
I was still holding on to a lot of pain and anger and bitterness for those people, my mother included, for what had happened to me as a child. The first time was forgiving all of those who had done me wrong. And then they sent me some literature on forgiving myself. It was very, very difficult because I would always go back because I had to reflect on what I had done to my victims. It didn't happen overnight. But I did. I gradually worked it out, and it's like once I did it, it's like taking a shower after doing a dirty project. It's just like all the dirt came off of me, and it's been, since then, it's just been an amazing journey.
At his next appearance before the board, Jerry was granted parole. Yet freedom brought its own set of challenges. He had spent more than half of his life behind bars, 37 and a half years in 17 different prisons. Finding his place in the free world was difficult.
I never paid a bill ever before in my life. I had to learn how to pay rent and I didn't know how to do any of these. I never cooked a meal in my life. When I first moved back to this neighborhood, many of my neighbors knew me. They knew my story. And many of them literally were terrified of me moving back.
While Jerry was learning to be independent, his skeptical neighbors started to warm up to this new Jerry.
Right now, all my neighbors know me. When they see me, they wave. I love it. I feel needed, I feel wanted, and for the first time in my life, I'm really giving something back.
Brother Michael Oberst has known Jerry for 9 years and can attest to Jerry's transformation.
My experience of Jerry is that he's very open. I think a real genuineness in his in how he lives, in the integrity he lives in his desire to give something back.
Jerry devotes his energy to help former convicts re-enter society. He also warns teenagers about the dangers of crime.
When I go around doing presentations, I always have a mugshot of the night that I was arrested for my crime, and I hold it up for anybody that's in my audience, and always say, this is the person that I used to be. I am no longer this person, and I attribute that all to divine intervention. I know God is all forgiving and all knowing and all loving. I'm just so thankful because I know God has a plan for me. He's guiding me to where I need to be. God's been talking to me all my life, but I wasn't listening. Now I'm open.